All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. European roots with that Caribbean soul, a refreshing German lager in a can. Pick up a six-pack of Johnny Cuba for yourself, your local Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas. That's how I'm enjoying the Panthers' win last night over the Lightning in the ZASLOW Mansion family room. Of course, make sure you drink responsibly and don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us now is our friend Jessica Blaylock, Bally Sports Florida. I'm watching her last night along with my guy Ed Jovanovski as the Panthers are finally back in action off the Christmas break. Jessica, how you doing? You look like you're all refreshed and ready for the new year after this Christmas break.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Had a chance to go home to Jacksonville for a quick trip. Got to build a gingerbread house with my 3-year-old niece, which was so much fun. Had a great Christmas, but missed Panthers hockey. I know it sounds funny to say, but 3 days without hockey felt like 3 weeks, especially after how much fun that win over Vegas was on Saturday. So great to get back at it last night, and it was great to kick it off with another W.
What a great response, too, by this team, right? Because they had lost 4 out of 5, and then they're entering a really difficult stretch where they have Vegas, at Tampa, and the New York Rangers, and they respond with 2 of their best performances of the season.
Yeah, and it's funny because even throughout the course of that rough patch where they lost 4 or 5, I remember, walking out with Jeff Chikrin one night after a post-game show, and we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I think this is going to be one of those stretches that in the big picture, it's actually good for this team. It's a good reminder that it's not easy. It's a good reminder of the things that you want to make sure that you work on. And I think they're going to be fine. Like, I was not worried at all when they had dropped 4 out of 5. And I think these last 2 games, the win over Vegas, the win over Tampa, this team has gotten back to their identity. Which is really, at the end of the day, despite the star offensive power, being a defensive-minded, defensively structured team. And so, Vegas, that first period, the Golden Knights only had 3 shots on goal. You look at what the Panthers were able to do defensively last night against, Steven Stamkos, a Braden Point. I know Kucherov got the goal in the third period, but really, they've gotten back to just being a hard-nosed defensive team. Sergei Bobrovsky has been so good, and they've
he was so good last night. Oh my God.
Oh, ridiculous. Like, I've rewatched that save on Point so many times today because it was just absurd. But they've kind of gotten back to their identity, and I think that's been the biggest difference maker over these past 2 games.
Are you worried at all about Matthew Tkachuk? Like, are we going to get to a point where the goals start to come in bunches for him?
Yeah, it's hard to say that I'm worried about Tkachuk. I know the goals aren't there, but he's still, I think, 3rd on the team in assists. So he is still actively participating in the offense, right? And then just everything else that he does. I thought he had a great quote a couple weeks ago when he talked about the importance of the team being infinitely more important than his personal numbers. And he is still the guy that's going to elevate the compete level. He's still the guy that's going to defend his teammates. He's still the guy that's going to spur you on to wanting to win a game. And again, at the end of the day, he is still getting chances. They're just not going in. I was talking to somebody recently about Tkachuk, and I said, it reminds me kind of Sam Reinhart last year, right? Where Reinhart started out the season, was hitting posts, was hitting the crossbar, was getting open looks and shooting the puck wide of the net. And at the end of the season, we look up and this guy finishes with 31 goals. I don't know if Tkachuk is quite going to get to the 30 goal mark, but I think we're going to look up at the end of the season and be like, okay, this guy ended up being just fine when it came to the offensive production. I think we were so spoiled last year with how easily he fit in and how easily the offense came that maybe we put not an unrealistic expectation on what he was going to do this year, but just maybe we're looking for a little too much as far as him just constantly having a career year after career year after career year. He's still getting looks, and I think that's the biggest thing. And it's something that both, Chick and Jovo have talked about. As long as he's getting those looks, you don't really worry. It's when kind of the looks stop coming and the chances stop coming and things like that you start to get a little worried. Sure, I think everybody would love to see a little bit more as far as the goal production. I'm sure even Tkachuk himself would love to see a little bit more as far as the goal production, but I still think he's just such a key piece of this team. And so I wouldn't say that I'm heavily worried about Tkachuk.
Well, and also, he was scoring all those goals last year in the regular season. They weren't winning very many games. Now this year, they're having a really nice first, third of the season.
Much better goals than expected, especially considering some of the injuries that they started out the year with. So, and that's why I go back to that quote. I think he's still got the right mentality. He is still going out there every night, playing so hard, laying everything out there on the line. But at the end of the day, he is infinitely more concerned about where the team is and the fact that the team is having success, even if he's not scoring a goal a night. And that to me tells you everything you need to know about having a Matthew Tkachuk on your team.
I'll tell you one of the things I love so much about hockey. Last night throughout the game, I hate the Lightning so much. And I'll be muttering under my breath throughout the game like, I fucking hate these guys. But the thing that I love about hockey, you could tell that the Panthers, the players, they hate them too. And they're not shy about saying it. Like I remember a couple years ago, I had Ryan Lomberg on my show. And, he was very open about telling me how much he hates the Tampa Bay Lightning. When Matthew Tkachuk had his press conference to introduce himself to the media, he told everybody, I hate the Lightning now. I hate the Hurricanes.
I have a shirt that has that quote on it. Literally.
Yeah.
Because it's so good.
It's one of the things I love about hockey. They don't pussyfoot around, their feelings when it comes to that kind of stuff. Even the game against the Bruins that the Panthers played the Bruins a couple weeks ago, and the head coach of the Bruins, does this game feel like it's a little extra? And, in the NBA, they'll say, it's 1 of 82. It's just another game. The coach of the Bruins like, no, they ruined our summer. This game means a little bit more to us. Like, I love that part about hockey.
Yeah, and I said it on the broadcast last night, that I expected this one to get a little nasty, but that's the way that it should be. This should be a good rivalry. Like,
I hate that they're only playing 3 times a year now.
I know, but these two teams should hate each other, and you want to see that come to life out on the ice, and I feel like we do in every single one of these meetings between the Lightning and the Panthers. We see the chippiness and the rough stuff and the nastiness and how much these two teams do hate each other, and that's what makes it such a good rivalry. So I love it. I think it's so much fun. When I think of teams that I want to beat more than any other team, I think Lightning, I think Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think now you're getting to the point where you think Boston Bruins.
I like I said, it's disappointing that they're only playing 3 times this year. I really hope we see them in the playoffs because it feels like the Panthers have absolutely closed the gap on them.
Yeah.
And I feel like the final step is let's see these guys in the playoffs,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. And that's something that I think we may have talked about a couple years ago. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And look, the Lightning in recent years have won a couple Stanley Cups. They went to the Cup 3 times. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And so I think it would be really satisfying at some point to see that matchup and to see it play out the way that we want to see it play out.
Yep. How about the home crowds this year? We're finally at that place where we have some sustained success, and that's how you build the fan base. I mean, I went, by the way, I'm 0-3 at Panther games this year. I may have to stop going for the betterment of the team. Oh, look at that guy. Who are we holding now? Who is that?
I know. I could hear him crying because he wanted mama. So this is Mario, my little senior rescue from Miami.
There he is.
I've had him for I've had him for about 5-6 months. No teeth, so his tongue kind of hangs out of the side of his mouth.
Yep,
cataracts, bad knees, but he is the sweetest little thing, and for as long as I have him, he will have the best life ever. So
I may have to stop going to games for a little bit because they're 0-3 at games I've been at this year, which is really upsetting. But the point is, the last game I was at was the St. Louis game a week ago. It's a random Tuesday night against a Western Conference team, and the place was packed. It's so cool, the atmosphere now every game.
I love it. And it's not just us locally that are noticing how amazing the crowds have been. I love that Florida Panther fans are finally getting respect nationally. I was watching whatever the last TNT broadcast was, whatever the last game that TNT covered for the Panthers. All of those guys spent the first intermission talking about Florida Panther fans and the crowds at Amerant Bank Arena, and how Paul Maurice has talked about how even in his time here, he's kind of seen a transition from, if you're playing the Leafs, if you're playing the Bruins, if you're playing the Rangers, whatever team it is no longer a 60-40 split, a 50-50 split. I mean, it is Panther red, Panther jerseys, all throughout the crowd. And I think it is amazing. And I think it has become such a fun home atmosphere, whether it's, the We Want 10 chants, whether it's, fans singing along with Mambo number 5, like whatever it may be, the Bobby, like there are just so many aspects of what Panther fans are bringing to the arena that give the Cats such an awesome home ice advantage. And players have talked so much about how much they notice it and how much they feed off of it and what a difference it makes. And I love seeing it, but ultimately I love seeing that Panther fans are getting respect because they deserve it.
Very big weekend. Rangers, Canadiens, both home games. Are you working both those games?
So Craig will be on the desk for the Rangers game, and then I'll be back for the game against the Canadiens. So,
all right.
Yeah, that's another reason I think that hockey has been so much fun this season is the ridiculous amount of parity around the league. It is so true. It's not really a cliche. It's just so true that there are no easy nights in the NHL. We saw Columbus drop 9 on the Maple Leafs. We saw San Jose go on a little bit of a fun streak. They took the Vegas Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions, to overtime one night after overcoming a 2-goal deficit. I mean, we're just seeing all of these crazy games around the league. And I think it's making hockey in general, not just Florida Panthers hockey fun, but hockey in general, so much fun to watch to see. Like, I'm locked into so many games every single night because you just never know what's going to happen. So
it's such a great sport. Like, I'm so glad. I've been preaching it for years here. I'm so glad that so many of us down here have caught on to it,
Yeah. And especially the team that, Bill Zito has built, and the fact that Vinny Viola and Teresa Viola have said, do what you need to do, spend what you need to spend, get the players here that you need to get here. This team, I keep saying it over and over. This is not just a team that, went to the Stanley Cup final last year and the playoffs a couple seasons before that. But now, it is what it is. We had our fun. It's over. Rebuild. No, like, this team is built to have success and postseason success year in and year out. It is going to be such a fun ride for years to come. And I'm so grateful that I get to cover it because this team is so awesome and so likable and so much fun and such a good group of guys. And it's just, it's incredible to see how passionate people are about this team and this organization.
What are we watching these days? Have you finished Netflix? Are you still watching some shows? What do we got?
What am I watching these days? My older sister actually just told me about a show on Amazon Prime that sounded fascinating. It's called From. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't know what that is.
It's basically this town that you can't escape, and at night you have to like lock your doors because there are these monsters that go like door to
Okay.
door, fight them in. Like, I don't know. It sounded really, really interesting. I'm doing a lot more reading actually these days than I am watching TV.
All right.
I just finished a couple Stephen King books. I read Dolores Claiborne, Joyland. Right now I'm reading a book called Happiness Falls. I read The Last One Left by Riley Sager. So I'm really into like a reading kick right now. I like packing a book with me, going and grabbing lunch somewhere by myself and just sitting at a table and reading.
All right.
That's
All
been
right.
my
We just finished watching Goliath on Prime with Billy Bob Thornton. That's 4 seasons long. We loved it. We love the lawyer shows. So we just got done watching Goliath, and now we are watching, because season 2 just came out a couple weeks ago. We're watching Reacher, which is also on Prime. We love Reacher. So
another friend of mine just recommended The Gilded Age on HBO, which I have not seen.
I know what that is, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. So I don't know.
All
I
right.
still need to finish the final season of Ozark, for crying out loud.
Oh, come on. What are you doing?
I know. But I almost feel like before I watch the final season of Ozark, I want to go back and rewatch all of the seasons leading up to it.
Yeah, let's
just
go.
Kind of refresh myself on everything that's going on. But yeah, I don't know.
I love the scene in Ozark. I love the scene in Ozark when the father is in the dream and helps Wyatt strum the guitar to Man Who Sold the World, David Bowie's Man Who Sold the World. I love that scene.
I love the scene where we meet her brother, and he's in the back of the cab or whatever, and it just shows him like being happy and then like crying and like going nuts and like all this different stuff. And you find out like at the very end of it that all the cab driver asked was, "Hey, how are you?" And we get like this full introduction to her brother and how complex he is and like everything that he's dealing with, and like kind of sets up the struggles, right, that she's going to have having a brother who's got like all of this going on. And that's such like a huge part of, I think it was season 3. That show's just
all right. You got to finish it. I mean, come on, all-time great show.
It makes me want to just like after Panthers practice today, just come back, especially if it's so crappy outside. Like it's a perfect day to just sit on the couch and stream a show. So who knows?
All right.
Any
there
concerts
you go.
coming up?
No, I don't have tickets for anything right now. We're in that weird time of year where it's the winter and there's not a whole lot scheduled, Pearl Jam should be releasing another tour for next year sometime soon. So I'm going to do that at some point in 24.
Rod Stewart's playing Hard Rock again on Valentine's Day.
Oh, is that right?
I did last year. I went to Rod Stewart by myself on Valentine's Day and had the time of my life.
A little Forever Young?
Yeah, exactly. Young Turks. It was great. Went and gambled for a little bit. Saw Rod Stewart. Had myself a heck of a night.
All right. There you go. Great job as always, Jess. Good catching up with you. Appreciate you.
Always a blast coming on with you, Zaz.